Welcome to part 4 of Kirby's Adventure, and now we're in Grape Garden, and oh my god, Grape Garden. I love Grape Garden so much because, unsurprisingly, because of the music. This is another personal favorite song of mine in the game. Every time I think of my childhood and what I what I liked about Kirby as a kid, this is the song that always comes to mind because this is actually a song that I've always remembered even back when I first played this game as a kid.
It's really catchy.
It's actually...
I'm surprised.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm surprised it's not as like referenced as Butter Building is.
Yeah. But you say it's catchy. I think a better way to describe it is it's very beautiful.
That's another good word.
Yeah. Because even though this is on an 8-bit system, I think the song sounds very, very pretty. I like the composition, and I like the way they used the 8-bit instruments to try and make it sound very nice and pleasing on the ears, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very impressive for the time. And I'm really glad that they brought the song back in Kirby's Return to Dreamland, albeit at a different pitch. But either way, it's a song that I think, that I agree should be brought back more because, oh my god, it's so pretty. I love it. And I love all those different piano and orchestral arrangements that it had. Like when the Kirby's 25th anniversary concert, orchestra concert, did like 2 different versions of it. Like especially the second one where they added in a very nice piano, you know?
Right.
Oh, I love this song so much. I love this soundtrack so much. I'm like a broken record. That's just how much I love this game's soundtrack. Yeah. It's not the only Kirby soundtrack I like, though. Don't get me wrong. I also really love Kirby Planet Robobot soundtrack, as well as Kirby Triple Deluxe soundtrack. And Kirby's Return to Dreamland soundtrack is pretty alright as well. I also really like, of course, Kirby Star Allies soundtrack. Like Star Allies has a pretty good soundtrack as well. And even Squeak Squad has a good soundtrack. In fact, even though Squeak Squad reuses a lot of music from a lot of previous Kirby games, I think the original music tracks for that game are very good, like the Squeak Squad theme, for example. Which reminds me, I probably should have talked to you about this sooner. Recently, I actually did another run of Kirby Star Allies in the Guest Star Allies mode, and actually did a run as DeRoche, the Squeak Squad leader, if you remember him.
Oh yes.
Yeah, he's the mouse with the fancy hat and the yeah, and the cape and the triple star rod.
Yeah, he's sick.
Yeah. When I played as him, I was actually very surprised to see that I had access to most of his moves that he could do in his boss fight from Kirby Squeak Squad. Actually, I think I could do all of his moves from his boss fight. Actually, I could, you know, I could like shoot out bombs. I could use the triple star rod. I could teleport. Like I had like the ice beam. Like everything he could do in his boss fight, I could do while playing as him in Star Allies. And as someone who grew up playing Squeak Squad, I thought it was really, really cool to be able to experience playing as that boss in an actual Kirby game, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
The
Alright.
game is cute.
Yeah. But anyway, for this round of Quick Draw, I've actually decided to use save states just to show off what beating King DDD looks like. So as a result, this footage is heavily edited. So if you see why I managed to attack him immediately, well, that's because I use save states to try and guess and predict the timing. I only really used it for when I got to King DDD, though, because again, I can always take out the first 4 opponents pretty easily. It's always DDD that I have trouble with, so yeah. So you saw how he went from a gun to a bazooka, but look what he gets here. He gets a cannon, which is pretty damn funny. Da, 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 da.
I feel like that's pretty hard for just 3 1-ups.
I agree. I think it's much easier to do the crane mini game to get 3 1-ups. On the bright side, if you only, defeat 4 of them, you still get at least 1-up at the very least.
True.
Also, I love this airship right here because of the way it looks on the NES,
It's pretty cool.
Like, I love the rotating fans. It looks graphically, it looks very impressive for the system. Like, every time I got to here and I heard the music, how it goes like ba 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 ba. Like, I always got really excited when I got to this part because it's just so happy, and I'm like, wow, I'm like in another new area. What is this cool blimp-looking thing? It looks so cool. Ah, like I'm in the sky. What can I say? I can't stress enough how much I love this game's visuals.
Yeah, it's really nice for, such an old game.
Yeah. That being said, I was wondering, are you familiar at all with the Game Boy Advance remake known as Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland?
Yeah, my friends had it. I had never played it.
I think the remake of the game, Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland, is actually a lot better than the original NES version. Mostly because Kirby controls better, and it has more content overall. Although it does have different mini-games for the hub world. For example, instead of like the quick draw mini game, for example, instead of it having a Wild West theme, it instead has a samurai theme. Though functionally it's pretty much the same thing. Like, it acts pretty much like the same quick draw mini game from Kirby Superstar, basically.
Right.
Yep. But another difference is that instead of having an egg-catching minigame, it has a minigame where you basically knock this bomb like to the other Kirbys with a frying pan, and you gotta keep going as long as you can until all the other players are eliminated.
Like hot potato.
Basically, yeah. I think that's how Some Call Me Johnny described it in his review of the game. But another minigame they replaced with was some sort of some sort of grinding mini game where you had to grind, rail grind on these rails with the warp star, and you have to time it to try and avoid obstacles and race to the finish line.
Interesting.
Yep. Speaking of racing, I am using the wheel because I need to try and beat this little contraption to reach the end, so I can access a bonus, like so. It cuts pretty close though, as you just saw there. Something I also want to talk about in just a few seconds is this boss right here. It looks completely different in the remake, because here he looks like some sort of weird turtle or bug-like enemy, while in the remake he's instead an elephant with no arms. Like a two-legged elephant, basically.
Interesting. Yeah, that is very different.
Yeah. I guess you could say that that they were a fan of elephants. The joke being that enemy is called fans, so yeah.
Is it fan with a PH?
Yeah, with a PH. What do you ask out of curiosity?
I want to know what it... Hold on.
Okay. Oh god, I forgot about this. One of the abilities you can get is a sleep ability, which basically just makes Kirby fall asleep. And that's pretty much it. And he can't do anything until he wakes up. Oh, hi, Meta Knight. Bye, Meta Knight. Thanks for the candy. Ah. I love Meta Knight. He's so cool. Ah. Oh. Oh, wait a minute. I could be mistaken, but I think Blade Knight actually is in this game, because I could have sworn that I just saw him earlier. Maybe both Blade Knight and Sword Knight are in the game. Well, there's Sword Knight. I could have sworn that I saw Blade Knight earlier, though. I'll know for sure when I rewatch the footage. Or I could probably just highlight who it actually was as a post-edit.
I like the color of the sky.
Yeah, it's very nice. Also, oh yeah, I should have talked about this earlier, but you saw how Meta Knight flourished his sword a bit there?
Yeah.
Ever since I was a kid, I always thought that he looked like he was dancing to the music, how it goes like ba-bum, ba-bum, like as he swings his sword, you know? Like he was flourishing his sword to the beat of the music is what I thought.
Yeah.
Yep. I think there are like a total of 5 encounters with these soldiers, if I remember correctly, but I could be wrong. As you can see, if I try to use the sword on them, it takes like 2 slashes rather than, say, 1 inhale, or maybe 1 hit with a certain other copy ability.
Yeah, they're pretty strong.
Yep. It's one of the few... whoop! There I go.
No!
Yep. First death. Just because Kirby games are easy, doesn't mean they're that easy. They can be challenging at times, even if they are easy for the most part.
They catch you off guard.
Yep. Which reminds me, that could also factor in why you probably enjoy Kirby, Michelle, because the games are easy enough for you to play and understand.
Yeah, they're pretty easy. I don't like platformers. I'm not very smart.
Oh, really? You're not?
Platformers are hard for me.
You don't really like most platformers?
Yeah, I just have a hard time.
Both 2D and 3D, or just 2D specifically?
2D and 3D,
And
but
3D,
mostly
okay.
2D.
Ah, okay. And I'm guessing Kirby is one of the few 2D platformers you enjoy because of how Kirby can, you know, fly indefinitely and you don't have to worry about falling into a bottomless pit.
Yes.
Yeah. Most of the time when players who die in Kirby games, they mostly die by taking too many hits, basically, from like bosses or enemies.
Yeah.
Although in the case of this game, it can be pretty easy to fall into a bottomless pit because, unlike a lot of the later Kirby games, whenever Kirby takes damage from an elemental attack, he doesn't just get knocked back. He gets pretty much stunned and knocked back, and you can't really control Kirby until he hits the ground at least once. Which means basically at some points, if you take damage from an elemental attack near a bottomless pit, Kirby will be bounced into the bottomless pit with no way to escape, pretty much causing an instant kill. And it has happened to me a few times before, so yeah. So this area right here is actually pretty dark, and the only way to light it up is with this ability, the light ability. Which is another one-use ability. But it's not... But literally, but it's only used in like a total of 2 areas of the entire game, so yeah. Oh my god, okay, I need to talk about this. But I like how, for the sword portrait on the bottom there, when Kirby has the sword, he kind of looks like he's doing a little He-Man pose, as if he was like, "I have the power," or more accurately, what he said, what he looks like he's saying, "By the power of Grayskull," because that's what He-Man says when he raises up his sword. Yep. Anyway, I believe we're at the boss. Unlike most bosses, You mostly want to use one specific ability, which is this ability, the high jump ability, because you're first being I believe pursued by the boss, and you want to try and reach the top before the boss fight actually begins. This is also the only area of the game that has Castlevania syndrome, in which what was suddenly below you, what was once below you, is now suddenly a bottomless pit. So that's another reason why you want to keep going up.
It's just like Doodle Jump.
Ah. Okay. Or Sonic Jump, which is something I'm more familiar with. But yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot that they had that game.
Yep. So this boss is Krako. This is a boss from the first Kirby game, Kirby's Dream Land. And he's even easier here than he was in that game, since, you know, copy abilities. And booyah, that was Grape Garden. Tune in for part 5 where we head to Yogurt Yard. So, see you then.